Hi, we're live. I hope this one's going to work. Hi, I'm Katie Eden-Todd from Grata, author of User Guide for Humans, How I Was Born to Be. Just a quick check. Is that working now? Yes, excellent. Technology, oh my God, it's so stressful. Okay, when I did the last live, it was with Jasmine, which was fantastic. We had potluck personas. And what seems to be the pattern for me now is the very next day, I get a strong intuition. Hi Susie, thank you for watching. I get a strong intuition about what's the topic that needs to happen next. What do we need to look at? And something that I talk about a lot and is actually going to be in the 8th book of this series, which isn't written yet, but I'm jumping ahead, is making sense of our times, because I think, hi Desley, I think that it's very difficult to make sense of our times. I was talking to my gorgeous adult children the last week, and they were both talking about how different times are for them. That we're in a time of existential crisis where everyone's got this insecurity about, is there a future? What's happening on the planet? What's happening to our society? So that's not always the case. And we were discussing that when I was a child, it felt like the sky was the limit. Hi Jerry, hi Joe. I felt like the sky was the limit. You know, we were not under the threat of climate change, for instance. We were not under the threat of paying for education and never being able to afford a home. It was like if you put your mind to it and do the work, you're going to be okay. But it's very, very different now. I thought then back to my parents' time and how they were children of the war and of the Depression. And so we had a collective time where everyone was going through a similar stage of life, a similar issue at the same time. Now, we all have dark nights of the soul. We've all had them. We have endings, we have deaths, we have marriage breakup, relationship breakups, we have difficulties financially, we'll have sickness, we'll have changes, shocks, lose our job, whatever. Now, that happens for us personally, but what's so fascinating about these times is not only do we have our own times of ups and downs, deaths, rebirths, endings, where the hell am I going, what's the point of my life? We've got a much bigger collective one going on at the same time. And I think people are finding that really, really challenging. In the last week, I have had so many people message me or be in contact with me having extraordinary challenges. I mean, out of the box, extraordinarily difficult challenges. Hi, Brian. And Katrina, hi, darling. Really big challenges happening. And I thought, what's the word of what I'm noticing here? And it's unraveling. It's unraveling. So what if we could understand what the unraveling was really about and where we were trying to get to, instead of walking blind through the forest as we're working peacocks on getting our decor right. What if we could work out what the unraveling was about and where we were needing to go rather than fight and resist and get fearful. So this is a very big topic. I have been awake all night literally as I'm pulling in all of this stuff. How can I say this succinctly for everyone today? So I think we've got 3 levels of crisis going on the big stage, and whatever's happening on the micro happens on the macro happens on the micro. So when you can understand the themes of what's going on in the big picture, and you start to go, mirror, mirror, how does that apply to me? That's when you start to have clarity. And for me, I can deal with anything in my life, absolutely anything, if I've got the clarity and I know what's going on. If I don't understand what's going on, I get traumatized, I get stressed, and my child coping strategies come out far more, and it's not a good look. There's like this underlying restlessness, anxiety, tension all the time. So let's have a look at the crises that we've got in the big arc to start with. Hi, Cindy. We have the climate change crisis, which is absolutely a crisis. It's interesting too that we've known about it for decades and decades. And now we've got a very, very short window of time where something can be done about it. We hear about fires. We hear about the hottest weather ever and records being broken as they were in Europe just this last couple of weeks. We hear about fires in the Arctic. We hear about the melting of the icebergs. We hear about, there's all this evidence, the droughts. We're hearing everything all around that's saying this is a crisis and it's escalating. What sort of a country, what sort of a world are we going to have in 40 to 50 years. And my kids' generation are saying, can we even have children? Is that a responsible decision? Which breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. So these things are big, and they add to the collective anxiety that people are feeling. So we've got the climate, Mother Earth, up in arms about the poor decisions we've made, where it's been about progress, materialism, growth, and we lost our way collectively. We've also got a cultural breakdown happening, where lots of systems that we've lived by for a long time, lots of rules that we've lived by for a long time, they no longer work, and they certainly don't work for the young kids coming through and for the people in their 20s and 30s. Like I said earlier, the ability to own a home is just about out of the question for a lot of people. The ability to afford education is out of the question for many people. The cutting of education to country areas. We wonder, why are there addictions everywhere of all sorts? And this is because of the third crisis that's going on, and that is the soul sickness. The lack of meaning, the lack of hope, the lack of purpose. What am I here for? For fuck's sake, what am I here for? Is there any point to this life? What if it's all gone? What if there's nothing anyway? Now, if you get to that point, and I have got to that point, Janine, if I get to that point in my life, and I've had years of depression which were not diagnosed, where I was a high functioning depressive, but I lost my way, I lost my purpose, health, lots of other reasons. I couldn't see the wood for the trees. I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't see my place. So we've got these three things all happening, and it's never been more important to be able to answer the question, who am I? And then answer the next question, what am I here for? The only way we can get through is to know who we are and have a sense of our unique purpose, our pathless path of where we're going. Hi, Nikita. So lovely having you people here. Give me a few comments so I know whether this is hitting the spot or of interest. I've only been stressed about it for 7 days straight since the idea came to me. I've only practiced it 400 times since talking to you. So we've got to know who we are. We've got to realise that the old systems, the old way of living, no longer works. It's a 1 + 1 = 5 scenario. So what were we living from? If you think about coming from the depression, totally hit the spot. Thank you, Jojo C. Thank you, Stacey. Big relief there. What if from the depression we came into, you have to work hard, you've got to save your money, it's about money and security. Excuse me. Money and security was very, very important. And we came through the 50s and the 60s. It's like that was the formula for life. But a lot of the work became meaningless life, meaningless jobs, meaningless work. It was achievement for achievement's sake. And what we lost was heart and soul. What we lost was being able to be, oh, someone was discussing this on the weekend. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Tegan. What we lost was, but what's my individual joy, my love, my gift? Because just going through school, ticking off the assignments and going through, that does not prepare you for life. That does not prepare you for who you are and what you're supposed to do and contribute in these times. I think here in Australia, where we have the NAPLAN testing, education's gone completely in the wrong direction, but more on that next week. We're talking about parenting of these new kids coming through, millennials, next week. So we have we lost religion, that became meaningless, and we lost spirituality, but then we lost a sense of meaning. We lost a sense of meaning and purpose. And then the old formula didn't work. I can't achieve, I can't get ahead. It doesn't work for me. These doors are blocked now. And then anxiety grew. So as our systems are breaking down and we rely on pharmaceuticals and we rely on all sorts of other things, reality TV, mindless numbing, shutting down, as these things came into play, we lost ourselves. And that's going on everywhere. You all know it. We've all been concerned about that. We can see it. So it feels like, to me, I've always believed, none of us are here by accident, and we all chose to be born in this exact age that we are, at the age that we are. We were born for these times. I believe we've all got a soul purpose. We've all got a thread to sew into the global tapestry of life. And we put our hands up and said, yep, okay, we've got connection breaking up. Keep telling me if that's happening. I'm in the country. Hopefully it's going to work. Hopefully it's just you, Cindy. we need to sew our thread into the global tapestry of life, but it's like the scarf is unraveling in the world. It's all unraveling. All the threads are pulling out. All the threads are pulling out. Now, what do you reckon people feel like when that happens? How does the child feel like in our individual lives when life starts to unravel? Have you been through unraveling times? Have you been through times where everything seemed to be falling apart? It's like the perfect storm. This went, then that went, then that went. I always feel like that's your soul saying, we're on the wrong path. Let's shift you over to this one. And if you fight it, it's far more painful. And if it's okay, if you surrender to it and go there, you find that within a short space of time, 6 months, a year, 18 months, whatever, you're on a totally different trajectory in your life. And it was a blessing. It's always a blessing. So can I just have a little tick from people if we're still able to hear so that the connection's not breaking up, is it?
I haven't got it.
Has it broken?
Mine keeps breaking.
Yours is breaking? Oh my goodness.
It keeps pausing.
It keeps pausing.
Oh,
Oh.
that might be my phone connection.
Okay, I think we've broken.
Just to other people.
Okay, someone's there. Thank you. Getting a few ticks. All right, I'm going to keep going. Apologies for this. I'm down in the country and the Wi-Fi is not that great. I'm just going to keep going. Hopefully we'll catch up. It's working now, Jessie. Okay, hopefully we're going to catch up. So what if we chose to be on the planet at this time in this age so that we could help reconstruct and create a totally new dynamic? Thank you, everyone. Oh, thank God. I'm so relieved. This is one of the nightmares I had. This is one of the nightmares I had in the night. I couldn't get the picture right and then the sound went, I couldn't post it. Okay, let's see, we'll keep going. In a way, do you know what with this breaking up that's happening? This is what's happening in our lives, people. This is exactly what's happening in our lives. We feel like we're getting there and then we have a break. We feel like we're getting there. It's not a straight line. We're spiraling, we're going in different places. Thanks, Brian. We're going in different directions. It's unraveling like our NBN. Perfect, you're getting this. This is Raven perspective. Exactly, Janine. So we are here at this time with the experience we've got, with the culture we've got, with the understanding and the wisdom we've got to come and sew the threads of our time, to come and help reweave. And we're on the fringes. What the centre of life is where it's always been, and it's concrete, and people are hanging on like grim death to wanting to live exactly as they always have. But then there's a lot of people saying, we just can't live like this anymore. We can't live like this anymore. It's not the right way. And we've got a lot of kids coming through who do not fit the school systems and our way of life and the pressure and the screen time and the reality TV and all the stimulus that they get where they lose themselves. We've got a lot of signs showing that as the mental health issues go rising through the sky, as the suicides go up rising through in an awful way. Just in this little town that I'm in at the moment, there were 3 suicides last week. This is just tragic. I can hear you talking, guys, so don't speak. My sweet Raven there. So we've got times of great unraveling in teenagers and youth. We've got drug problems. We've got unravelings in our own life. And we're on the blueprint of where we came from in our childhood, that we're supposed to be trying to get here and here and here. We had 2 mass shootings this week, just within 24 hours. And in fact, there were 4 in a week in the US. And I'm sure you, like me, look at those and we're just in despair. How can that be? It's so irrational. How can that be? So let's bring this back to the personal so that we can understand how that can be. Well, at the moment in our lives, in our world, we're seeing a great polarizing. We're seeing people who are very defensive, very fear-based, very angry, very challenged, and needing their guns, needing their defences, needing no change, and wanting to keep things very tight and very judgmental. So there's a lot of hate and there's a lot of division, and Trump is escalating that perfectly, which was in one sense his role on a spiritual level. It was to bring up and show us how awful the child shadow is, and that we cannot afford to be like that, and that we all have aspects of that. We've talked about that before. So we have a polarization where people are hitting great pain, financial pain. We've got a lot of poverty, a lot of homelessness growing, a lot of austerity, the rich are getting richer. We've never had such disparity since the 1920s. And look what happened as a result of that. There has to be an equaling out. So on the other hand, we've also got amazing innovation and amazing solutions coming through, which are heart-based. which are compassion based, which are I am with you. If you are suffering, I am suffering. If you are in pain, I am in pain. We've got to fix it for everyone. We've got to reach out, we've got to lengthen the table and bring everyone to the table and invite them in to share. So we've got two different ways of how do we go forward in life. We try and hold on to the old, but the train's already left the station. The old's not staying. And the great driver of that will be climate change. It's really interesting how our nature, human nature, is so connected to nature. And we need to get back in touch with our nature and our intuition so we know how to work in harmony, so we start changing the paradigms of how we live. So what I'm noticing is that people themselves are going through some very strong unravelings, and their child is coming out exponentially at very extreme levels. So as people who are very defensive and fearful are fighting those who are trying to bring in the new because they feel so threatened, they feel that they're going to cease to exist and be annihilated if we incorporate and include everyone as equal. If we let go of white supremacy and white privilege, they feel like they're going to be lost, but it's not about that. It's about including everyone as equal. If we have that defensiveness that we see on our screens every day, and we also have it in ourselves. So I would ask you, have you been defensive in any way in your life, about change that's coming in your life? Have you been challenged by a partner or at work or by friends and had your ugliness, your shadow come out badly recently? Because the child in all of us, when they feel under attack and they feel like they could be annihilated as inferior, unworthy, inadequate, they come out with all guns blazing. And what I'm hearing is people are having epic meltdowns. Epic meltdowns. Anyone out there feel like they've had that? Because I have been flooded hearing about them. And that's when our child is very, very frightened. What we need is kindness. What we need is a sense of, well, who am I then? And do I have a purpose? Yes, I love being defensive. Saves me from being hurt. Cindy, go to the bottom of the class, sweetheart. That was the child answer. Every child thinks that. I'm so glad you wrote that. Defensive means you guarantee being hurt. Defensive, phenomenal meltdowns. Thank you. Defensive guarantees you'll be hurt, guarantees you'll set up the same old script, guarantees you will be attacked, guarantees you will alienate people, guarantees you will miss out on the love and the reassurance that you want. So what we're feeling collectively, and you might not even watch the news, but even if you don't, you pick it up because it's a fishbowl. But if you watch the news and you see all the decline, the breaking down of society, if you see, oh yes, on Sunday I was so embarrassed. Thanks, Tegan, excellent. Yeah, it's been very, very intense. But this is the melting of our defensive structures, which are actually what stops us from having the love, what stops us from receiving and giving our love and giving our purpose. So if we are going to sew our golden thread through the tapestry of life, into the global tapestry of life, and help knit our part of the huge scarf that is life on earth, if we're going to do that, we're going to have to melt our defenses. We're going to have to let go and just go with the flow and go with the breakups and the intermittent stops and the can't hear you, can't see, the freezing, the curveballs that come in. We're going to have to let the breaking down happen. For me, if I can see that and know that, it's like, okay, oh, this is happening because I'm needing to break down my concrete defenses and melt. And that means I'm more accessible to give love and to receive love. Our whole way of life, our paradigm of living has to change now. And exactly the same timing as climate change action. It has to be radical, and actually it's got to be within the next 18 months. So you wonderful people who take the time, and I'm just so grateful, but who take the time and have the interest to look at these lives that I'm doing. The world actually has to move from child to adult now. The majority has to move from being a child to adult. And we are experiencing growing pains. We're experiencing the terror and the fear of what if I let go of what I thought kept me safe, my survival coping strategies. I thought they kept me safe. I thought that that was what worked, but have a look at your history. They've never worked. They've never worked. They have not helped you at all. In fact, they just keep you in an isolated, separated place and feeling unworthy, because we've talked about this in Hidden Treasures of Our Shadow, the live that we did a few weeks ago. Every time we show our ugliness, our self-worth is corroded. It's like it's radioactive inside. We don't believe in our lovability or our worth or our right to step out. So the world's experiencing I need to stop and let things happen a certain way, because including and sharing. Yep, I can't read the rest about that, Brian. Absolutely. I think you're going to be getting insights by the truckload, people, if you're willing to go with what's coming at you. So we're part of the earth melting down. We're part of society melting down. We're part of systems, the neoliberalism system that's melting down. We are part of, you've watched a few meltdowns and tried hard not to regress into child when listening to them. People are being put to the pump as well, where they're having to choose to let go of things that's really hard, like family members, relationships, partners, jobs, ways of being. Do you reckon you might be triggered when you're having to stand up and follow your truth, even though you know you're going to let go of stuff? So yes, I bet you've watched some meltdowns, people, and it's really hard not to go into your own. Congratulations if you've held it together, because that's the greatest gift of love there ever is. When someone's having a meltdown, know they're in child, and the unraveling is happening. What do you reckon we need when we're unraveling? Someone who can just stand and be the witness and say, this is actually a positive thing. But we don't need to stay in the self-destruct for too long. We don't feed it, we don't argue. Let them have it, and then when it's the calm after the storm, we have a discussion about what that's all about and where's the direction now. I'm going to give you some really concrete tips about that at the end of today. At 3 o'clock in the morning, they told me what I had to say, what I had to bring to you, the persona gold for you. Okay, so we're talking about meltdowns, we're talking about unraveling. So maybe we should be ready to have, you've taught me to allow myself to be loved and give love. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress for me, Stacey. Good on you, my darling. So we should expect more meltdowns, and we should see that meltdowns, the crumbling of the old dysfunctional, fucked structures. That's a psychological diagnosis, people. It's a fucked structure that has to come down. The crumbling of that we should expect. It will trigger us, but actually know this is moving in the right direction if you work with it. When in pain, we've got two choices. We can go with the pain. We can go inwards and learn about ourselves and grow and find out some insights, like some of you are sharing. You're getting some great insights. We can go in there, own everything. Remember, that's our clue. Own everything. You walked away so hard, but feeling yeah, great. Walk away and come back later. We've got to learn how to do that. We've got to learn how to not put the petrol on the fire. So you've got to own massive insights. They're coming hard and fast. So good when you've got tools. Absolutely. If I didn't have tools, I've often said to people who love this work, how the hell do people out there who don't know anything about what's really going on in the big picture, how do they live? How do they live? It's too hard. It's too hard. Clarity is everything. All right, let me get back to my point. So we should expect some meltdowns. We should expect massive change. We should come back to the person afterwards if we've been able to not go there ourselves, or they come back to us and say, wow, you really are letting go, dissolving some of that old structure. It's painful. It's like an earthquake, and the rubble, it's like it's got a crack. It hurts when it comes off. And your child will fight this because he or she thinks this keeps me safe. It doesn't. It keeps you in pain, isolation, inadequate, and lost in the old script. We actually have to move from child to adult. What we need is in the collective for more people to wake up, and they are awakening in many, many different ways from many, many different people who've come through like I have to be at this age that I am, and to come through and teach and say, this is how you get from child to adult. There's many teachers, there's not one way. Youth are coming through with the answers as well. So we've got elders and we've got youth coming through. The youth come through and they're actually more humanitarian in their being. They actually can see through how deadly the beaver structures have been, how deadly the dryness is, and just making beaver your meaning of life, of doing tasks, working. That whole paradigm is over. I encourage you to watch Mike Moore's Where to Invade Next. Absolutely outstanding. I encourage you to watch a speech from Greta Thunberg, the climate change 16-year-old activist. Joan of Arc, she's an elder. Watch that. Watch Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez breaking down the house on Netflix. There's the youth and the elders all coming through, and you can be an elder at any age. But we've got to have our breakdowns, people. So the old way of life on the earth, the old we of who the world is dying. And we see that in the planet. And we've got to act quickly. The old me is also dying. The old you is also dying. And we've got to take strong action right now and so that we're in a totally different place. It takes 6 weeks to 9 months to consolidate and get really strong about the new way of being, so you choose the new adult way as opposed to default setting child, which is self-destructive. Look at all the school kids protesting. Exactly. September 20 to 27, join them. There's an awakening of consciousness everywhere, and they came in not of the old scripts. They're birds. They're primarily birds, not the animals in the personas. I'm going to talk about this next week. But these kids already have that spiritual awareness and spiritual IQ, whereas the previous generations didn't, because they came from beaver and from times of the Depression. They were shaped to be a certain way. We have different strengths of personas coming through to match the eras of our time. It's very exciting. Personas match countries and eras, and we have that. It's just amazing how far you can go with this work. So have a think at the moment. The old me, the old you, is dying. What do we want to do about that? We can become smaller with pain, get bitter, more blaming, more defeatist. There's no point. Life is fucked. There's no God. There's no spirituality. It's just meaningless. If you go there, you will be in chronic soul sickness, because there is a mystery to life. And I know many of you watching know this. There is a great mystery to life where things are aligned and doors open and things come in and messages come through. There's a whole other world that is actually more real than this tangible world. And when you start tuning into that, that's where you have the magic of life, the beauty of life, the aura of life. So with pain, and we're all in growing pains now, we may be trying to medicate, we may be trying to medicate our pain with our various addictions. We may be stuck in our emotional addictions, be it sadness, worry, screaming rage, meltdowns. Hi, Barb. Yeah, I'm done with soul sickness. My God, I've been there a few times. I'm with you, Joe. I'm so not of soul sickness. I don't want to be there anymore, but I'm very grateful for my dark nights of the soul, which were for years when I was in them each time, and there were many. Because now in the wound is your soul. That's where you can connect to your gifts, but you've got to be prepared to let go of the life you planned in order to be able to live the life that you were destined for. That's Joseph Campbell. Love that. So what have we surrendered to the pain? What have we surrendered to? Wow, the world's breaking down and so am I. But what do I need to do then? Fear, Michael Mead says, comes from the word thoroughfare, meaning to go through. What most people do when they experience fear is they batten up the hatches, put the defences, do the walls. Cindy, we were talking about that, you know, I get defensive. But that means you never go through the fear. That means you're never free of the fear. That means you never get to the gift in the wound. You never get to the gifts, the magic, the answers that are waiting if you can go through the pain and the uncertainty. So this work is about, do I stay small and go hard, angry, blaming? And the longer you're there, that's where you lose compassion and empathy. That's where we have no compassion for the pain of others. That's where we have no ability to relate whatsoever, because we're a long way away from our soul. However, if we take the big picture and we go, this is actually the universal lesson of life. We're supposed to grow and go through pain and not be in certainty, go into the unknown. These are unknown times, but we chose them. And now we go in through there and we become a bigger person, a more heart-led person, a more compassionate-led person, where we don't judge quickly, where we have empathy for people who are really struggling and frightened, because it's all about fear. When the child is fear-based, the adult is love-based. We contribute to the collective energy in the planet. Are we going to contribute fear, anger, hatred, division, get rid of them, isolate here, keep all the resources for us, let everybody else perish? No, we can't. Refugees are us. The homeless are us. Everyone has to be well looked after. And you know, with a feminine-led society, which is the feminine in men and women, my feminine was weaker than my masculine. So it's not about male and female. It's about the feminine, the heart-led intelligence. That's what's happening now. We're in the midst of a social revolution. 2,000 years in the making. It's actually a great time to be alive. Each day where we need to go is, am I coming from love? Am I coming from compassion towards myself? Am I surrendering to what's happening? Am I owning I'm triggered? Am I owning I'm very vulnerable today? Am I sitting with this until I get some answers? And then am I sharing to create intimacy with my loved ones? Wow, this has been going on for me. I've just realised this. People love that. This is the way to go, people. How to care and hold that little one that you are, and not allow yourself to do the same old meltdowns, whatever your style is. I realise I've talked for quite a long time now. I don't know if there's any questions people want to ask while I'm talking there, but for the grace of God go I. If you are judgmental and hard, know you're in your child, and your child is feeling neglected inside, and you're needing a lot of love and compassion, and that you're actually judging yourself very harshly. We have to remove the judgments of ourselves and move on. Okay, great, goosebumps. Now, what I got at 3 o'clock this morning was to tell you, which wasn't going to be in for a couple of books, but I can't help myself. Abby, forgive me if you're watching. I want to tell you that all the personas have a genius, and that we are in the bird age. I'm going to explain that more later, probably next week. But the 7 birds are wanting to come through now, and we are exactly who we are, perfectly unique, perfect as we are, but we're all here to build community. We're actually to build a circle community where we all step up and take responsibility for what's happening, not do a hierarchical masculine community. We have the masculine strength underneath. It's not about one or the other, but it's a circular, I step up and I will do my part. And this is what we're all needing. We're needing enough people to awaken to what their path is and to get out there and do it day after day with love in their heart. Do what you can. Do what you can. Do what you're passionate about. Do what you're excited about. Big change coming for you, Megan. Big changes coming everywhere. And the pace of the changes, you know, we really have to let go of control, which is just a ludicrous idea anyway. We've just got to go with the flow. I thought I'd give you a little tip about what the bird's genius is. So if you're not sure about what your purpose is, you might have an idea now that where to look, and it has to be about your passion. It has to be about your love, because that's the only thing that's sustainable. And anything in your life that is not long-term sustainable, and I'm talking relationships, jobs, how the money is, what you're doing, what you believe, a lot of things that you believed 100%, maybe for decades, you may have to throw out the window. I am. I'm finding it fascinating. I love it. I just love it. We surrender to the rebirth. Surrender to the rebirth. We're all trying to be reborn. There's a lot of great teachers out there. Go and hear Michael Mead Mosaics. Watch Russell Brand. Watch Brené Brown. Oprah's Super Soul Sundays are superb. Eckhart Tolle. Go to where you're led. Get fed about this information, because I find when I do, it helps me stay an adult elder, and I can just nurture my child as I keep doing the work, because you know what? There's no time to wait. We can't wait for the kids to be 30, 40, 50 like we are. They're ready now to come in with their genius ideas of what solutions we can have for the planet, for society, for education, for health, for everything. So if we can tune into what's good and take responsibility for what we're contributing each day, and we're directing and uplifting as we go, honestly, guys, I have a very good feeling about where we may go. It's going to be very different. Doesn't mean there won't be hardships, but I have a very good feeling if we can all be switched off and we say, love is the focus. Love is my focus, and I'm going to step up and do the work. It's why we chose to be here. So what might the genius be of all the birds? And that's what I'm going to finish off with today. Okay, I'm going to go through the birds. And for those of you who understand energy systems, they follow the chakras. Those of you who are not into that, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. But there's a connection here. Swans are geniuses about nature. Indigenous peoples, where they have been allowed to re-enter the lands and nurture the lands on our planet, they are now doing way better. Extension rates are lower, and the earth is coming back to where it used to be. There is a genius DNA ancient history knowing in every swan about nature, of how to nurture nature, replant, nourish the soil, nourish, and to feed people well, to feed people in a healthy way. They are here to feed the tribe, here to feed the community, and the bird genius is nature genius, is the swan, nature genius. And it makes sense. They managed, Indigenous peoples managed our earth and kept it in balance for tens and tens of thousands of years. So swans are going to want to be fit. Swans are going to want to be healthy. They're going to want to have organic food, unless they're in really dark child swan and then they eat every bit of crap under the sun. But they actually love really good wholesome food, and they want to nourish the earth. They don't want to waste. They don't want plastics. They want everything used and reused sustainably. They're about sustainability and self-sufficiency. We need that knowledge now more than ever. We need that knowledge now more than ever. So if you have a very strong swan, that's going to be part of what you get excited about it. It might also be about how I can care for animals, but that might be sparrow. But there we go. Ravens. Ravens are here to help understand about the big picture of life. They're here to talk about purpose and meaning. We have got an epidemic of soul sickness on the planet, which matches the drug epidemic and every other addiction we have. Anyone who's gone to drugs has been looking for soul connection. They've been looking for inner home connection to the divine, connection to the divine. And if we go outside of ourselves to try and find it, we get nothing. And then we need more and more and more. We get short hits. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Oh, Megan's loving being a swan. Oh, you beautiful woman. Swans are gorgeous. They're so lovable. And they have to contribute and mentor the youth as well. They're here to mentor the lost kids, the underdogs, the ones who've had a rough start, a poor start. They're just stunning. They're just stunning. So swans, get your heart opened. Don't go into your xenophobic, I hate people, fuck the world, I'll just go and do my self-sufficiency and build my survival shelter. You actually have to go out there and contribute because you know how to work as a tribe better and how we can all have our place better than anyone. Ravens. It's about shining a torch on darkness. It's about shining a torch on the mystical element of life, on soul work. So there's a lot of ravens coming through. Some will have atheist beliefs, some will have spiritual beliefs. There's two different types. But they're all about finding meaning in life. And you are here for a purpose. Absolutely everyone has a purpose. But it's easy to give up and say, I haven't, so what the fuck, and just go into self-indulgent. But that's the most painful way to live. We have to honour our purpose, remember who we are, and get out there. So ravens are talking about this stuff, and it's a hard thing to get across because it's very symbolic. It's not concrete, it's not facts. It's about the world behind the world. It's about what are the big life lessons we're all going through and being able to see the big external life lessons and see how it relates to us and to bring clarity and to help us keep going towards going through that circle of fire of all that child, swan defensive, child fire, prickliness, that defenses we all have protecting from our heart and soul, that we all have to go through. That's the journey of life. We've talked about this in other ones. We have to go into that, and there we have our genius and our gifts. Hi, Bon. Oh, I'm so honoured that you would watch me. I love it when ours watch me. I'm terrified of ours watching me because I think they're going to judge me really most harshly. But there you go. That's the raven owl thing. So moving on to owl genius. The owl genius they are the scholars. They can absorb enormous amounts of information. They have the background. They understand history. They know what we need to learn. They can go and find very innovative solutions of what we need to do, how to change the system. They're actually radical owls. They want to change the system that doesn't work, and they want to create justice. They want to create a utopia. They want to have a fair playing field for everyone. But they go and do the research and they find out the facts and figures. You can see when we have all the birds work together, all aspects are covered. If we just do one and we say it's just facts and just evidence, then the swans and the ravens go, well, fuck off, I don't want to know about that. But if we intertwine and have mystery of life, like Einstein says, where you have the mystery of life intertwined in imagination, in with the owl genius for scholarship and research and new solutions and new systems and bringing people together, then that starts to work really, really well. We need to honour everyone. My darlings, we need to honour the strengths of what other people have. And when we see our children have these birds, we need to direct them and say, I reckon you might be really good at doing that. I reckon you might love to do this. Of course you love your books and reading. Ravens and owls are very much about the history and seeing the patterns of where we've gone before and what we need to change. Okay, so this is just a little bit. This is also in my book, my darlings. If you get the user guide to humans, how I was born to be, you'll find in the elder section, I touch on what they're all here to do. What's their genius to go and contribute to the world at this time? You chose to be here at this time to go and help. You put your hand up. So let's not hide in child and have meltdowns and pain and I can't cope, because you all can. So hi, Jay, it's so great to see you, my darling. So we've all put our hand up. Let's go and do it. But if you want to get this and have it concrete in your mind, what am I here? Like I've got that bird, and that bird. How might that come together? We're going to do that in the second book. But get the user guide to humans and just read the elder parts of your strongest birds and you'll see what you're here to do. Let's look at peacock. Peacock is not here to do shallow reality TV. Sorry, but if there are any peacocks out there who think that's a great idea, it's just not it. It's not about shallow beauty. It's actually about nobility, and it's about love. It's about unconditional love. It's about bringing out the inner beauty, the inner beauty and love and style and colour, nobility of the soul. Someone's just laughing at that. I love this. But peacocks can be really hard. I think we're being brainwashed and having a suffocation of who we are, and we're having a mind numbing going on where we watch so much reality TV and we watch children having meltdowns, be they Desperate Housewives, be it The Bachelorette, be it The Bachelor, be it, I don't care what the show is, but it's all about manufacturing false drama where children just have meltdowns all the time. But you know what happens? It's like it collectively anaesthetizes us. And when we go brain dead, how effective are you going to be stepping up the next day to go and do what you came and were born to do? People are finding that as they wean themselves off that addiction of drama and intensity and she's a bitch, she said that and he said that, like, fuck off. As we wean our kids off that, please don't let your kids have much screen time before 8. Don't get your teenagers living on this because they're not alive. It's actually brain dead. When you wean yourself off these shows and we wean ourselves off that and we get more into nature, which swans will tell you work, they don't like a lot of TV. More in nature, more in creating, more in slowing down. We talked about jigsaws and colouring in and reading, but writing journals, making some music, dancing. Change your routine, people. Whatever's happening now, change your routine. Don't do what you've always done. It's like whatever little intuition comes in, go there. That's what you need to try. So peacocks can make environments beautiful, gardens beautiful, homes beautiful, and make people feel so welcome, so beautiful. And it's not about comparisons and competition and jealousy and envy. It's about, we've all got an inner beauty because that's the heart. It's the heart chakra. So we actually need to move from the very dark, pervasive peacock stuff that we've got going on now and say, I'm not playing. You know, if ratings are, if we don't play, then it dies. It's like Big Brother, it dies. So we need to get back into what is real beauty because that's the antidote to terror. The antidote to terror is beauty. It's because the divine is beautiful. The divine takes you back to, I always say to people when I work with them, with their child, create a Garden of Eden in your mind, in imagination. Perhaps you could all do this after this video or when you've got some time to yourself later, and put your little child in with you in your Garden of Eden, with a stream, with flowers, with animals, with trees, with sunshine, music, where you can just be, and that's your safe place no matter what's going on in the world. As the collective world's unraveling, you may be unraveling, or your children or your partner's unraveling. It's like, how can I just stay very present, push pause, be present and come and nourish myself here? Vital for these times, vital for these times. And be very mindful about what you're watching and what you're putting in your brain, whether you're slowly, gently anaesthetizing yourself, or whether you're having a little bit of escape, which is fine, a bit of laughter, but don't do too much. It plays havoc with us, exactly. Get out of my head. What am I really about? Then go and get soul food instead. Watch those people that I've talked about. Find people that you resonate with and start finding out what life's all about. Because you know what? We can't watch reality TV for the next 10 years because the planet's going to have crossed a line where it's not going to be able to be very sustainable for very many people. And it's the same for us, our families, our generations ahead. We can't be doing this mind-numbing stuff. We've got to be mindful, not so mind-numbing. Okay, so peacocks are about beauty. Bring beauty, show your beauty, your generous heart, your nobility, your fidelity to what's real love. It's actually so charismatic. And also peacocks have got that courage to show their style and their flair. I want everyone out there, you know, if they feel like wearing a 1950s ball gown to Coles, fucking do it. Put your stilettos on. I just told Jasmine, you know, who did the potluck personas, she said, I've got this gorgeous dress. I said, well, I want you to wear it to Coles. Don't wait for a good day. Don't wait for a good day or a special occasion. How about we let ourselves be whatever we are each day? That's the freedom we need, but while also understanding that we're contributing and being part of the community. Like, I'll be myself fully and bring everything I've got to the community, to my group. That's what we need to do. Right, parrots. Parrots are brilliant communicators. They are geniuses. So peacocks are genius in the sensual world. I'd say ours ethical, justice, mystical world for ravens, and natural world for swans. And now we've got in the community world and creative world is the peacocks. They have to keep creating in a variety of ways. They've been creating without security and assets, so in a way, they're the great leaders of our time because they were the circus travellers who just performed without ever having land, without ever having a mortgage, without ever having those things. It doesn't frighten them the way it frightens every other beaver and people who want security first. You can't choose security and creativity. Parrots can lead us about what really matters and how to invite and tolerate and love everyone and let everyone create and sing and dance and gather and eat together, support each other, tell their stories so we don't feel so alone. That's part of what we have going on with parrots, and that's why Constance Hall is doing so brilliantly in her work, is because she's primary parrot and she just has an innate genius for creating community and bringing people together so you don't feel so alone. So that's very much parrot, but they've got to have enough beaver so they don't do the escapist stuff. They're present and it's about contributing. It's not just the idea. I heard a very interesting thing about the 1960s where we could have had this bird age earlier and the parrots were leading it in the swinging 60s. That's where it started to cross over from beaver to bird. But the parrots just indulged too much. You know, there's too much drinking and drugs and marijuana and off having their ecstatic bliss, which is the short-term bliss for what you're wanting when you come home. I've worked with many people who've had many addictions, and they've said to me once they've learned how to connect with themselves and do the meditation or moving meditation, being out in nature, in music, whatever, or creating something and you're in the zone, you're really home. And they've said to me, they're the best highs I've ever had in my life and I don't have a hangover the next day. So that's what people are looking for. They're spiritual beings, parrots. They're looking for that spiritual connection. But if you do it externally, the pain will only increase. The avoidance will only increase the pain that we have. Okay. Oh, we've got your son's a parrot beaver and he's an optometrist. Well, I hope he's getting a lot of parrot food in another way. Nightingales. They are beautiful angels here and they are healers. They are healers. They are here to lead the way as humanitarians, to lead the way with compassion and empathy, because they've sat at the cutting edge of life, watching people die, and at the war fields and war zones and illness epidemics, they've been there and they cannot hide and say, I'm too precious, it's all too much to me, I can't cope, and get very self-involved in, I don't want to be here. If you're here, you're meant to be here and you've got a purpose. And it's about you need to lead the way with not suffering, but show people how to move from suffering into joy, move from sadness to joy. It's on the way. Don't get lost in suffering. Hi, hello, my beautiful nightingale. We can get lost in the suffering and feel like it's somehow virtuous. And we can get lost in this salvation idea that we're here to save people. That is so fucked, people. Do not go there. I've certainly had it in my time, but I'm appalled by it and I'm not going there. It's so arrogant. If we're going to be with people and guide and walk with people through, we need to go through metamorphosis at the same time. It's not from this person to that person. It's about let us go through and work and our souls evolve together. That's how it works. It's not I know stuff and I'll tell you how to do it. It's not that. So nightingales can get to that sometimes, be a rescuer. So you've got to work through your illnesses and your health issues and work out, are you going to step up or aren't you? Are you going to own that you've got enormous strength and empathy and help bring that love? Because you are here to help heal the world that you're in. You're here to help heal and keep creating. Nightingales will switch off their creative outlets and then we know that they're gone in backwards. Keep creating, keep creating. Acceptance of all of us. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Oh, thank you, Katrina. And now let me have a look at the sparrows. And sparrows are the light child. We interviewed a beautiful, delightful sparrow last week, Jasmine. And they are the light child. So we need the elder wisdom, but we need the imagination, the playfulness, the innocence, the joy, the love of life. Do you reckon we might need that right now? As our collective world is unraveling, because it has to, it's unsustainable and it's unjust. And it's built on horrendous history of genocide and abuse. So it's got to unravel and we've got to rebuild it according to, hopefully, adult feminine values with masculine strength underneath. So we need to have that sparrow joy of life and creativity and fun. They're like, it's delight for life, but we've got to have, oh, beautiful, beaver, nightingale, a sparrow. I love looking at people's combinations. How much fun is that? We've got to bring all of that together and have the elders coming through. Yep, it's time to be creative. That's the antidote. When your kids are having meltdown, quiet time, slow time, nature time, less screen time, creative time. But it's also about owning stuff, people. Owning. And realizing that you are actually going through the process of caterpillar to butterfly very rapidly. And of course your child's freaked out. Of course the world gets freaked out and can get into despair. You're allowed to have your moments. I say to people, you can have a short-term meltdown, but don't stay there too long. Don't stay there too long. It's unnecessary. Get the point, get back up, come back to do what you're here to do. This is growing pains. You chose to be these times. You're perfect for these times. Your unique combination of birds and your animal style of how you'll deliver your purpose is very, very important. But we can't do it from child. In fact, we will add to the pain of the world. Every time we add to pain in our life, personally, and in our families' lives or our work lives, we actually add to the collective pain. So I feel very responsible that I don't keep continually putting in my raven rage, condemnation, judgment, self-hatred onto others in any way, because I've put my fair share in. I've got a lot to turn around here. It needs to be a completely different message now. So we have done quite a long one today. I hope it wasn't too rambling or all over the place. We're unraveling, but it's a good thing. It's a necessary thing. Have a think about where might my life be changing in a very dramatic way. Where is my soul trying and my intuition trying to lead me to seeing the world from especially very strong, different perspective? Where might that be happening in my life that I'm being challenged to throw the balls up in the air and think, wow, what should I do now? What could be different? I think we've got to let go of our old routines. I know I do. I think we've got to let go of our old ways. I think we've got to be very mindful of how many meltdowns and negativity we add to this. Yes, we've got to sit with our pain, be in with our pain, and not just do fake sweet stuff and pull a fairy card and that'll fix it. I'm sorry, that's not going to do it. We've got to get to some depth here, some insights. We've got to get to some self-knowing. Answer the question for yourself, who am I and what am I here for? The book, The User Guide to Humans, How I Was Born to Be, was written to do all the work for you. So that was a shortcut and you didn't need to have as many dark nights of the soul as I had. So you can go through and see, yeah, you learn the tools that work, you go through the pain. You have to go through the pain. Fear and pain is the thoroughfare. Keep going, keep going. All right, my darlings. Oh, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching. I honestly got no sleep last night. You should have seen me. One day I'll be brave enough and show a picture of myself of what I look like 15 minutes before the broadcast. It had scared children. It's so ugly. It's so awful. And I'm just brain in my eyes. But it's like, that's what happens. It's like I go through a lot to bring this information through, which is very Raven. But I feel so privileged and I just so love sharing with you. As soon as I've done one on a Monday, I wish I could do one on a Tuesday. That's what happens. So I hope this is going to grow. If you know people who are struggling, maybe spread the word a little bit. It's just that if you've got clarity and you understand a little bit what's going on, you don't keep questioning yourself. It'll help people to start the self-acceptance process and start to look a little deeper and not just do the same old self-judgment, same old self-destructive, defensive child coping mechanisms. So the message is, the world is going through a transgender transition where the masculine was dominant to the feminine being dominant. How interesting. And we are now at a stage where we can't wait any longer. We need to do the child to adult. And what can you do? What can I do? I can let the old me die and I can step up. I can surrender that. Bring my child with me in love, in my beautiful Garden of Eden in my heart. And I can step out. And that's my contribution. I believe if enough of us do that, we will change the planet. There's a lot of wild cards coming up to change the planet. Let's be part of the solution while accepting we may have a lot of pain ahead because of the damage we've already done. But we come together as a community. And you know what? In tragedies, it sees the best in people, brings out the best and their genuine love of humanity. So let's just operate like that on a daily level. Let's move from child to adult and even to elder if we can. All right, my darlings, much love. I so look forward to talking to you next time. And we're going to do some parenting work and what these kids are about, what they need when we're getting it wrong, lots of interesting things. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.